What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to some more information coming out about the comments that Donald Trump made very recently about the Gordie Howe Bridge. So, I actually made a video just the other day taking a look at this post that Trump made, sort of complaining about the circumstances in which Canada is building this huge bridge between the US and Canada. And apparently, Trump made numerous claims in that post about the bridge that are simply not true. Shocker, wow. Yeah, I know. Who would have thought? Wow, this is unbelievable. But, joking aside, today, in the pursuit of the truth, I want to take a look at this video that is fact-checking a lot of the things that Trump said about the bridge. So, let's take a look.
Now, the Prime Minister was asked about Trump's bridge ultimatum as he head into cabinet earlier today. Here's what Mark Carney had to say about a call he had with the U.S. president.
What? Mark Carney had an actual phone call with Trump about the bridge? Because last I remember, Trump was kind of like throwing a bit of a tantrum because of the Reagan ad, talking negatively about tariffs, and the speech, the legendary Mark Carney Davos speech that really sort of ripped into Trump in the U.S. a bit. And I didn't know that they had been talking since then, let alone under these circumstances. So I really want to know what happened.
We discussed the bridge. I explained that Canada, of course, paid for the construction of the bridge, over $4 billion, that the ownership is shared between the state of Michigan and the government of Canada, and that in the construction of the bridge, obviously there's Canadian steel, Canadian workers, but also U.S. steel, U.S. workers that are...
This is so freaking embarrassing for Trump. And, by extension, the United States. He's supposed to represent us, and he's showing up to these phone calls with, world leaders like Mark Carney after going on these unhinged rants. And the fact that he needs Mark Carney to explain all of this stuff, that's what's embarrassing. Donald Trump obviously should know all of that, but he says a lot about a lot of stuff that he clearly doesn't really know about or understand, and that doesn't make it acceptable at all. It's totally unacceptable. Like, the fact that Canada's Prime Minister had to get on a call and explain, like, the actual facts is crazy. But also, I'm glad he did it. Did that actually turn into any sort of productive conversation, I wonder? I don't know.
We're involved. This is a great example of cooperation between our countries. Look forward to it opening. And what is particularly important, of course, is the commerce and the tourism and the voyages of Canadians and Americans who will go across that bridge.
Yes. Donald Trump and all of us should be thrilled if any Canadians are still wanting to visit the United States and boost tourism here, and this bridge is a great way to do that. And from the sound of it, it just seemed like Trump was very upset that when Canada made this deal to create this bridge back when Obama was president, Canada made a really great deal. And you have a lot of the ownership of it, and you get a lot of the revenue that it generates, and that's not for nothing. It's clearly Canada has paid for the bridge. I've heard that numerous times now. Canada paid for it. How can we come? What? We can't just come back years later and try to redo the signed contract, the signed deal, just because we're unhappy with it. For one thing, that's not how that works. And it shows that no one should trust us. You know, it's horrible to have to say about my own country, but I wouldn't do a deal with somebody who goes back on their word. Like, this is an agreement. Like, you can't just start saying you're going to throw a fit and the agreement doesn't count anymore. That's like something a child would do if they don't like it. Anyway, there's so many things wrong with this, but I'm curious, like, did he accept all of this new information? Does he deny it? Yeah, maybe there's more details.
So now this new controversy was sparked by a rambling social media post by Donald Trump filled with accusations and false claims about the bridge project.
I can't help but, like, chuckle that, what is this? This is CBC, like, big Canadian news agency, like, calling his post rambling. That's what we're not even pretending anymore, are we? Like, to be cordial, or it's just funny to me that on the news it's like Trump's rambling, incoherent post. That's the official report. That's funny. I like that.
The CBC's Aaron Collins is in Washington with more.
There's a lot to unpack in this one social media post, which is often the case when they come from President Trump. This post, as you mentioned, it's long, it was meandering, it wasn't really very focused, but the broad strokes, if we want to sort of get to that, does revolve around this new Gordie Howe bridge connecting Windsor and Detroit.
Which, by the way, why now? Hasn't this thing been under construction for like years? And Trump has been in office for a year. Seemingly, this has been going on for a long time. Why is this suddenly on his radar? If he was truly upset about this, why didn't he say anything earlier? It's just so random. Is there something I'm missing? Why is he upset now? But I don't know.
Set to open very soon. It's completed. There was some talk of a ribbon cutting maybe in March or April. That's not entirely clear.
Oh, it might open it's coming to fruition, March and April. That's not very far. Is that what it is? Because it's finally almost done? I mean, I think most people would just look at this and be like, well, he's doing this because he doesn't like Canada, or he's mad at Mark Carney, or some kind of petty reason. That's why now. But also, it's opening soon. It's almost done. Okay, I didn't realize that.
But Trump's essentially threatening not to let that happen unless the U.S. is, quote, fully compensated for everything we have given them.
I want to hear what he thinks of this, because that really kind of blew my mind a little bit. This bridge can't open till Canada. You give us everything that you owe us. Which is what? What is that?
It's unclear what the president is after here, though, Arthi. I mean, this is a project Trump called vital during his first term. As you heard from Premier Ford, he fast-tracked it in 2017. Canada, as you heard from the Prime Minister, paid for the entire cost of building the bridge.
Trump? Oh, my God. It's so annoying. He fast-tracked this in the first place, in his first term, when he wasn't mad at Canada. His decision-making is literally just based on unhinged emotional reactions to, like, oh, Carney made a speech about me that made me look dumb, so I'm going to sabotage an international bridge. Like, it really does feel that way.
And Michigan is going to maintain part ownership. So a sense among many observers that the U.S. president is just plain wrong on this file.
Yes. I think for more and more Americans, stuff like this is opening eyes, even though by now, like, for the most part, like, eyes should be opened at this point. Certainly after the whole Greenland thing. Oh my God. But in that, so I think a lot of Americans are really scratching their head like, okay, it used to be Trump said outrageous, maybe cruel, insensitive things. Now it's all of that, plus it's dragging the United States down. Like it's literally ruining our reputation and hurting us. And it's going to hurt us financially too. It already is. And sometimes that's kind of what it takes for the average person to actually kind of like wake up from their day-to-day life and care about something like that, because most people like understandably just want to live their lives, and a lot of stuff doesn't really actually affect them, like their day-to-day life, if they can afford their rent and their groceries and go home and watch Netflix or whatever, hang out with their kids, like whatever you want. Most people, like, it takes a lot sometimes for people to care, as sad as that is.
What he's saying is not true. He's badly informed. You know, in his first term, he had some staff around him that were well informed and tried to restrain him. Now, he's got a lot of crackpots working for him and telling him things.
I love this. This is amazing. Oh my God. For they call him rambling. Now it's just like he's surrounded by crackpot advisors. It's got to be truth to that, but it's funny to like see it on the news.
Tried to restrain him. Now, he's got a lot of crackpots working for him and telling him things that simply aren't true. The fact is, the bridge is complete. We've been planning a major celebration, ribbon cutting, for perhaps late March or early April.
See, this is so important because if you only went off of Donald Trump's post, you would be so misinformed. In nowhere in his rambling post did I understand that the bridge was like complete, that Michigan owns part of it, that America will benefit immensely. Like, yeah, that's why it's so important to like put in effort and understand this stuff.
And so the bridge wasn't the only topic covered in this social media post. It rambled on for about 300 words, and some of the other, I don't know if you want to call them highlights or lowlights, what have you. The president railed again against Ontario no longer selling American alcohol. There's the complaints we've heard many times before about U.S. dairy farmers being charged tariffs. And this one, really difficult to wrap your head around. He seems to be bothered by Canada negotiating in any way trade deals with China, something that...
Yes. That has been really annoying me too. Man, if I say this so often now. If I'm annoyed, Canadians must be beside yourself, like with the stuff that he's doing. I like to say that he thinks he's gonna, like, he is the Prime Minister of Canada, like he gets to determine the policy decisions for, like, he really thinks that, like, actually, he thinks he can get online and threaten Canada and coerce you into not making trade deals that are beneficial to you. Or, I don't know. It's insane.
The president quite bizarrely says will lead to the outlawing of hockey in Canada. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and certainly we have had a lot of reaction too on this side of the border. We've heard from the Prime Minister, we've heard from Ontario's Premier, as well as the Mayor from Windsor, all within the last 24 hours since that post came out from the U.S. President. What about the U.S.? What are we hearing from inside the United States when it comes to this threat?
Yeah, I'll comment on what I've seen first, Like I like to say, I'm a pretty representative of an average, typical sort of American guy. And this is not like, it has sadly come to the point where I think by design, Trump makes so many outrageous claims, so many stupid social media posts. He says he does so much outrageous stuff that it dumbs you down, or it makes a lot of Americans like disregard a lot and filter out a lot of what he's saying, and not I think it's actually, if it's purposeful, it's actually a pretty good tactic that works for him, purposeful or not by him. And it's to just overwhelm the American people with so much crap that when he actually does something like he not just bad, but like more serious or outrageous, it actually gets like pulled down into the slog. It gets like it doesn't get as much reach. People don't care as much, even though they should, if that makes any sense. So this hasn't like made huge news in the United States, even though it's outrageous.
Yeah, response from down here south of the border was quick, and especially from Democratic politicians in Michigan. A slew.
Sure, of course, politicians are going. It's their job to respond to stuff like this. But I was kind of talking about like what normal people in America kind of. I can't speak for everyone, but it's not something like people are at work chatting about. Like, did you see what Trump posted about the Canadian bridge? Like, no, unfortunately not.
Of them weighing in here, including a spokesperson for Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who wrote, it's gonna open, referring to the bridge, one way or another, and the governor's looking forward to attending that ribbon cutting. So an acknowledgement from officials here about the importance economically on both sides of the border of this project. All of this happening, of course, as negotiations over a new Canada-U.S. free trade agreement sort of loom in the background.
That's true.
But members of the Trump administration are saying that those negotiations are completely separate to talks about the bridge.
The bridge. I can't believe this bridge has become a thing. And I'm actually really curious what's going to happen with this bridge, because the complaints are unfounded. It's based on total lies or misunderstandings or whatever it is. But Trump really does not like to admit that he's wrong. He hates it. Like, just historically speaking, like, he doesn't do that. So I'm afraid, like, if he's not going to back down on this bridge, or what he's going to demand, or that this could become something like even bigger and bigger. Right now, it's just kind of like alarming, and we're all kind of scratching our head, like, really? But this could get bigger if Trump actually. It's not really clear what he's demanding at this point, or if he's gonna even remember that he talked about this next week, or what.
The Gordie Howe Bridge is Canadian owned and operated, and there's a concern, a valid concern on the part of the president, that this bridge was allowed to be built. They didn't necessarily use American content in a bridge that's going into the United States. There's a question as to the proceeds of tolls, et cetera, and so there's going to be a negotiation.
I don't understand. There was a negotiation, right? Between Obama and probably Trudeau back then? I don't know. Between Canada and the US. There was a negotiation. That's how this bridge was built for the last years. Why would there have to be a renegotiation just because Trump doesn't like it?
On that front.
I think it's important, whatever happens here, to keep context of these posts in mind. You can't necessarily take the president's musings on social media at face value. We have ample proof of that. Recently Donald Trump's posted about tariffs on Canada's planes, tariffs because we were dealing with China. Those haven't materialized. So it's just really, really hard, Arthi, to know how seriously to take any of this.
That's the CBC's Aaron Collins in Washington.
That was good, and very true. And I think more Americans should step back and think, what if any country was doing this to us? What if there was some crazy mad king from Game of Thrones, threatening us every week and going back on their word? And what would we think about that? And I think a lot of Americans need to reflect on that, because this is just one example in a long line of recent examples of just madness. That's all I can really say. So I guess we'll see what happens next. And like you said, this free trade agreement is kind of the next big thing. Oh God, the renegotiation of the free trade agreement, if there is even going to be one. So we'll see. I'm glad to set the record straight here a bit. Canada paid for the whole bridge. We do have partial ownership, which makes sense. It's literally touching Michigan. Canada deserves revenue because it financed the whole thing. And it did use some American labor. We're like meeting in the middle. Like, what? Yeah, a lot of fact checking that was good and very much needed. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on this whole crazy bridge situation. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canadian things that I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.